Good evening, everyone. It's 6:30. I'll call the meeting to order. First up, modifications and changes. Does anybody have any modifications or changes to the agenda? Hearing none, we'll move on to public comment. Is there anybody here from the public that wishes to speak tonight?
I just have someone I would like to introduce to the public tonight. Sitting over here in the pretty purple and green top is Miss Gwen O'Looney, who is a former mayor of Athens, Georgia. So, welcome to our meeting. Yeah. I made the mistake of telling her I was coming here.
I'll see how you do it. But anyway, it's a beautiful little town. I really am enjoying myself.
Thank you. Well, nice to meet you.
Thank you.
All right, is that it for public comment? We'll move on to review and approval for the minutes June 14th. If everyone got a chance to look those minutes over, I'll hear a motion to accept them.
Move, we accept. Second.
All right, Sammy with the first, Eli with the second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, nay. All right, up next, water tower road speeding discussion. Where do we want to kick this one off?
We're more happy to. My name's Andre Jetty, and I've been up there on water tower since 2007. And speed, well, the thing is, one of the reasons I moved up here is I like the scenery. The road has always been 25 miles an hour. Back in 2014, I think they repaved it, which didn't make it better, made it worse, obviously, because it was pretty rough. Back when it was rough, I did get rushed off by a mirror, knocked off my bicycle back before they paved it. Haven't had that issue since, but because so rough and everything like that, I was just trying to avoid it sometimes. I was trying to avoid something, but anyways, and the vehicle never stopped. That's back then. I've had my old house. I did build a new house 2019. Moved up a little further up on top of the hill, better visibility. But my old house, I had 2 mailboxes knocked over. You don't do that at 25 miles an hour. Go off the road. One was in February, one was in May. So obviously speed alcohol. It's just not getting any better. I think if anything, it's gotten worse. We've got more trucks definitely on that road than probably any other road here in town. Definitely more on Orchard Street because they're not allowed there anyways. And now St. Pierre is building another, I heard 600 to 800 head.
The trucks is a really bad issue. Those guys come flying down there 65, 70.
Really
Either way, they're hammering it down through there, and it's very dangerous.
I mean, I'm surprised I don't obey it. I can't imagine nothing.
When they come up over that hill, their tires are off the road.
They're
Slam! Like
I'm more worried about the safety for my children. I have a 4-year-old and a 3-year-old, and they're flying.
Mm-hmm.
I have to plow at night at my house so I can see the headlights come up from Enosburg. Because if I do it during the day, I won't get hit. That's the only time I can plow, especially in the wintertime. Even before when I had a trailer, I had a RV. I had to have someone stand on top of the road up there by the big standing rock and hold up traffic for me to back something in there. There's no enforcement, none at all. I never see a sheriff on the road. Never.
I've offered numerous times to let them park in our driveway because they'll see as soon as they come over that hill how fast they're going.
On that road, trust me.
Yeah.
Is there any specific times that you've noticed that it's worse than others?
It's all day long now.
It's all day.
All night.
I mean, I'm home more, obviously. I drive school bus, I'm retired, so I see a lot more of it. Of course, summertime they're off, but it's constant. It is constant. It's just not just the trucks. I mean, I have a 25 sign, besides the one further down the road by Gene Flaherty's or in that area. I've got one right smack in front of my house. And, I'm not saying I can tell you you're doing exactly 21, 22, 40, whatever, but you can pretty much get a good idea that they're doing well over the 25 and even well over 35. And I go like this when I see them coming, I point right at the sign. This is what I hear. So, it just gets a little frustrating when you can't can play around, clean, do like the same thing as Bill does, clean the yard. I don't know what it's gonna take. There's curves there, there's a lot of, they've got curves and hills, I mean, they deal with.
Someone's gonna get killed.
And there are certain individuals that we see that do it all.
Mm-hmm.
White Mustang, right up here. That's one, definitely. A couple Chevy
Beat
pickups.
up red cars.
Yeah.
I can name them off, like.
Oh, yeah, I can, and those cars do it at a certain time. Like after 5, after 6 o'clock at night, they're coming up my road. And you have to listen for that one.
I'm sure you can hear them.
Yeah, you can hear them coming.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So you think it's more a handful of individuals that are doing this? Or?
Individuals
And
and
the
farm
farm
trucks.
trucks.
Farm trucks is crazy.
Yeah.
I know that farm trucks are kind of hard to tell because the size of them. Bigger things look like they're going faster. But
When those girls are
I
coming
can
off
tell you,
that
I can
hill,
tell when they're not doing 25.
that
There is
green
one
tractor
truck driver
trailer
that does
is
toot
probably
his
the worst
horn
one I've
before he
seen.
gets to us, so that way we know that the kids aren't by the road, which I don't allow them to go by the road, but if for some reason they're riding their bicycle on their little cement pad, then he'll honk his horn like down by the trailer as he's coming up. There's only one that does that, but all the rest of them, they fly. I mean, to the point the house ricochets and it shakes it. Like, they're going past 25 at that point.
It's, I agree.
so
I don't know what else to say, to do, what can be done. Definitely more signage, lighting, I don't know if that.
more presence.
well, I'm sure
Definitely
everybody knows
presence.
that it's a 25, but whether or not they respect that is an individual issue. But Roger Longman's joining us tonight, and I believe that road is a 26,000 pound road. So there really shouldn't be that heavy of truck traffic on it, correct?
Yeah.
For sure.
Sit there for one day. One day.
Yeah.
Well,
I
you know,
don't
and
think they do anything though with farm trucks, so.
I did. I sat there one time early in the morning and stuff, and I really believe those trucks either have radio communication or whatever. Because after the first one I stopped,
They do.
the rest of
They
them
have
were all
radio.
like speed limit or below. I caught a few cars heading to the school early in the morning, that type of stuff too, that were flying pretty well. But no, we'll step up enforcement there and stuff. But this is a problem we're having, not just here in Enosburg. It's throughout the county, throughout the state, throughout the nation. Cars are faster, and the response, Andre, is the same for everybody. They get the one finger wave. People are just right now pretty rude and pretty aggressive, and that includes their driving.
And I know everybody's short-staffed as far as that goes, but, in past meetings, they've said, well, okay, we've got issues on Orchard Street, we've got issues on Pleasant Street. Well, Pleasant Street's got sidewalks, Orchard Street's got sidewalks. We have nothing up there. You can't even really park a car on the side of the road. We're a lot narrower, a lot of these other streets. Both of those streets have a stop on each end. So yeah, they might get past the 25, they might get 40. And then once in a while, you might get the 50, 60, with radar. I guarantee you're gonna get a lot more than one or two that's gonna be doing 50, 60 up on that road.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I want to go back when Roger said the trucks must have radios. I came home today about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and there was a sheriff at by the rec entranceway. And boy, the trucks were going nice and slow, and I went out and looked, and I knew the sheriff was gone before I went outside because they were just flying by
just
again.
flying, yeah.
I
I'm
mean,
saying it.
Yeah, I said, sheriff's gone, isn't it? And you could tell almost like it's a minute that the sheriff was gone, the trucks were just flying.
Yeah. And this isn't a new issue by any means. We've tried a lot of different measures. We had the speed card out there one year. I thought we had like a designated time period that officers had to spend on water tower at one point.
Right.
So we tried a lot of things short of a mechanical, like road speed bump, speed dip, just short of that. And I don't know what else to do at this point, other than increasing enforcement. But like we all know, everyone's stretched thin. And
I got a thing, they had last year, they put up the speed sign, or, flashes your speed. I went a couple times at Eli's edge of the road and followed the traffic up and staying between 25 and 30, just enough where I could see. And the car's pulling away from me. They see that flash, you see the brake light comes on, the time they get on the other side of it, they're pulling away from me again. You know, so it's something that's there to try, I understand, but I don't, it's not doing anything.
Right, it's not a long term, it doesn't have lasting effect, it may last for a month, you know, but.
My experience, I mean, what we had, and I don't know the cost of it, you know, you want on the interstate right now, you don't stop to pay tolls. You flash your car, your license plate and everything. We were in Europe for a month in 2016, and we were staying with friends in Switzerland. Going into town with our host, the father, Robbie, and I see this little flash. I thought it was, you know, like something, you know, a mirror reflecting or something. Says to me, he said, I just got caught for speeding. They got these boxes, and they put cameras on them. But they not only have they'll have a box here, they'll have boxes all over the place. The camera can move, but they'll put a number of boxes, but not all of them are loaded. So they don't know at what time or who moved the camera or whatever. Of course,
And then they mailed him the speeding ticket.
Yeah, they mailed
So in the 2 weeks we were there, I think he had like 4 of them come in, you know, from just different areas. But yeah, they took a picture of his car and his license plate, and then they mail the speeding tickets out. I mean, I know that's a
If
cost.
it's your
I don't know
car
what-
and you say I was driving, well, you're paying the ticket then,
Right.
you know, or you say who was driving.
I'm not sure those are very widespread on this side of Vaughan.
No, Vermont has
Does anybody
none
have-
at all.
No, Vermont, no.
No, they don't.
I think they have in
Really?
New Jersey or New York.
Probably
Didn't
toll
you used to
booths and
have
stuff.
those?
North
Yeah,
Carolina.
Georgia,
Georgia has
we use them
those.
in our
Yeah.
city.
So either way, does anybody here have any suggestions on what we can do? 'Cause-
For a solution.
or, yeah,
I have a suggestion from where we live. I think you should put a yellow blinking light on the top of that hill by the rock. I'm thinking that would slow people down. That would remind them that there's 2 hidden driveways right there.
Even though it says it.
Even though it says it in a big sign. And there is no
Not everybody
25 mile
reads.
an hour speed
Apparently
limit
not, but the
right
kid
by the
texts and
sign,
drives.
right by the rock. It's 25 down to his house. On our end,
it's the start,
there's nothing.
right, it's the start at the end of the road.
Right.
25 on the other side of the street coming into town.
Right.
That is just before, what's his name, lives up on the hill, that's your,
Well, by the sounds, it's mostly local traffic, so how long would something like that last? As long as our portable speed signs last, 30 days,
It's just an idea.
15 days?
That's all it is. I see it in other places.
Right,
You know, you see it at intersections or right in the middle of town, you'll see a yellow light. Just for no reason at all and because of the house and the kid. So,
Well, I have maybe a suggestion, I don't know, maybe it'll help, maybe it won't. Maybe, with Mark St. Pierre having a visit
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
to,
I was gonna
Mark and
suggest
say,
that.
look, the trucks are flying down this road, you need to slow them down, or
No
you
job.
can't drive on this road yet.
right, my question is, are they even legal?
The farm trucks? Yeah. They got a lot more leeway than any commercial
Which is
truck.
crazy, I
registered.
think, it's just crazy.
They inspect their own vehicles, they don't register their own vehicles, some of them don't even need to be registered as farm vehicles.
but it's not a state highway. So any of the road damage is the town's fault, right?
Right.
yeah, we're responsible for
Do
it.
they have to still follow the weight limits though?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Is that what you're
So
questioning?
26, they're 26 empty. There's no right there.
I don't know how much, I don't know what they're carrying, if it's silage, if it's hay, if it's.
If they're loaded, they're
Sometimes
90,
it's even the
100.
big farm trucks
So-
on that road.
Now, they're flying.
Tractor trailer's gonna be under another horn, easy.
Yeah, so it's from an enforcement standpoint, as far as just even those trucks being on the road, period.
Yep.
Where do we stand on that?
I'd have to look into it, Sam, to be accurate in giving you that answer and stuff, and how much, you know, the town road, that type of thing could take
Is that
and
something
stuff.
you guys can enforce, or would we have to get DMV trucks out here?
I don't have a trucking certified person. I don't think state police has a truck team
Swan.
So
anymore
we'd have to
either,
call in DMV?
possibly, yep.
Swan.
There are some commercial things we can enforce,
But DMV isn't required to do on public.
town roads, right,
Right, only
No
on
problem.
highway.
yeah, state roads,
Right.
yeah.
So we would need a local municipality officer to enforce that. I would assume that DMV isn't gonna make a special trip up just for us.
Okay.
Yeah, and I can check too from my end of it and see who we have, what are our options, and get back to you with that.
And I've been talking with Swanton, just kind of what they do in the village and the town, so I can follow up with them as well if they have.
Yeah. Just a heads up, I spoken to a couple of people that used to work for Mark. And he has told them, and this I got from another farmer in Berkshire that has actually seen it happen, that he tells them when they get by the school in Berkshire, if there's nothing coming, go through. And I was talking to a farmer up there, and just about different things about farming, and he brought it up, going through there, and I told him what a driver had told me, as well as for the vehicles going down the road. He said, I don't care if you got 20 cars behind you, don't stop, time is money. So this is coming from an ex-employee, so take it from, whatever.
Back to the, you asked about suggestions, and as we've been talking, I've heard different suggestions being thrown out. Somebody said, speed bumps in the road, but then they've got to be pulled up in the wintertime for the plows, and that we get back to the same problem. So what I'm wondering, I don't know if it's legal, I don't know if it can be done, but a thought I had is, can we put dips in the road? Can we drill a thing across the road every quarter mile or something, so that after those trucks or those cars hit one of those dips they're going to start slowing down, because they're going to, and then it wouldn't need to be moved for the winter. Is that a legal thing? Is that something that could be done?
Speed dips are they are an option, but they kind of have the same effect as a speed bump, just reverse. It does affect the plows, according to our highway department. So,
in my experience with those, as well as anybody who's got a trailer, they're towing something, when they hit those bumps, everything in the trailer comes up and down. We'll be sitting here like within 2-3 months, and we'll be here about the complaints about the noise that's happening with that.
or people's cars that are loaded.
The city tried it.
Saying they'll smash the
I already hear enough noise.
The noise isn't going to kill a kid.
There's not. I don't think there's any easy fix to this.
Just hopefully it's not flying out in front of another car either.
I mean, hammer the road,
Yep.
get it out there that we're not putting up with this anymore.
Yep. I made a couple notes. So I'll go talk to Mark St. Pierre myself. And that way, when we do aggressive enforcement, we get to the courts or whatever, if they push the tickets, we can say, look, we've talked to the owner. We'll try
I
something.
think that's a good place to start.
I think you're probably gonna have to give him a certified letter.
And signs wouldn't hurt, with the lights, maybe have two of them. One near Mr. Gleason there and one closer to my road.
Like a caution light.
This way you have
Put multiple, both three of them.
Or strictly enforced.
Right on top of my hill, as far as.
Do you know, Sheriff, if you have any data? Because I know, I didn't really say this, but when you go, you see just a normal 25, again, people get used to that, and it's like, well, that's a sign. However, like when I go into J, they have the one that flashes. So I don't know if there's data on that, and it kind of catches my eye more, and I do slow down. I'm like, whoa! I mean, it drops, I think, 35 as you go through the village there. It flashes you when it says slow down. I'm just wondering if there's data that between like the sign we have and those types of signs.
Ours do collect data. So,
No, but I'm saying, yeah, I know they collect data, but what is the difference? Are those?
So you're talking
They
about a
work
sign that's
better.
actually flashing what the speed limit is,
Right,
not
and
what
then
you're driving, but what the speed limit for where you are
Well,
is.
it
or
flashes
does
it, but it
That's
tells
it.
you to slow down and it flashes and it kind of
Flashes
gives you-
harder if you're going faster.
Right.
Last I knew, last time, I think it was years ago when we were running for sheriff, they did a study, and the average was 38.
Yeah.
Okay, so that means there's a lot of them, they're in the 50 range, as well as those back to the 25. You shot it down, somebody on the board said, let's raise it to 35.
that'd be me.
And there's an unwritten rule that supposedly there's like a grace, not that they want people to know or do it, but they'll tolerate a little bit. So going to 35 is just gonna push them that much faster. Now in Montreal, I don't know if Glenn has that in your city or not, but in Montreal, when I worked up there, what they ended up doing because of speed in between the streets, you not only had stop signs on each end of the four corners, they put one or two in between the block. I know that's a little drastic, but that may be something so that you're putting a stop sign where a red light, flashing red light.
Well, that's what they
In
were saying
between.
about the yellow lights. I
Well, the
mean,
yellow light.
they're gonna get used to that and fly
But the
through
red
that
light
too
is
when
a
they don't
stop.
have.
So theoretically, if they don't wanna nitpick, they can do a rolling stop, but it slows them down, but if they get.
A blue light's gonna stop them completely.
Well, blue's, well, yeah. But it gives them another reason to stop, because now they didn't
Just
stop.
have rotating blue
I don't know
lights,
what
just
the answer is, I just know that
hang them
it's,
from the wall.
it's actually gotten worse, and it's only gonna get worse with him, with his trucks, if he's building another 600 to 800 head, you know, he's the biggest one in this, in northern New England, from what I understand.
Yeah, he's a big one.
Yeah, so, if anybody's got better suggestions, I don't know, these are just things that I've heard, you know, Mike Wolf couldn't make it, but he's the one that said something about speed bumps and, you know, things like that. Where it's gonna go, I don't know, but I don't wanna see anybody hurt, and it's just annoying to sit there, you give them some kind of notice, you know, like that, and then you're just getting flipped off, and you get it, so. That little black motorcycle up there, minimum 60 miles an hour pops a wheelie right in front of me on top of the hill. I mean, if he wasn't doing 60, he wasn't moving, just right in the air, you know, going down the hill with, going down and up hills. Yeah.
So for right now, I think we have a bit of a game plan, right?
Should we give
What is it?
civilians?
So we're gonna, Roger's gonna get in touch with Mark. We're gonna see about, commercial
I'll fill
motor
out
vehicle weight
application.
stuff. Roger, Kim, is there any way,
We rest our case.
That's on water tower.
is there any way that you could have deputies designate like an hour or so per shift, just to, for right now, to kind of.
They can sit in my driveway.
We have a deputy got back from deployment. We got our SROs that are back on the road right now and stuff too, so maybe we can do a little bit even more than just one
Well,
deputy.
And can I
break it
make
up,
a s-
stop and then come back.
Right,
because
leave
you
and come
know,
back. That's what I know. Yep.
But can I make a suggestion, Roger? A lot of times, they park right across from where the vet was, where the.
Or in that driveway by the trailer. This is the only two spots they sit. They
But-
don't sit right in my driveway.
At
Go
the
ahead.
lower end, I mean, they're just coming off the main street,
Right.
or they're slowing down for the main street. We've said they can sit in our driveway, you know, if they're down the road a little bit farther, that's where they're starting to pick up speed, or they haven't started slowing down for that stop sign. I think where they've been sitting, it's just too close to the end of the road.
Or like
They
right at
need to be
Wayne's
up-
World or something.
Yep, they are
Yeah, it's a
welcome
good
to sit at
spot.
the bottom of Wayne's World Road.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
I think they need to be
Whose
moved
driveway
down.
was I sitting in, Andre, when I was up there?
well,
It's almost
that
across the
was
road.
my old driveway.
Yeah.
But, you know, now I'm up in the new house.
But boy, you could hear those trucks coming from over the hill, and
That's
you know,
what
you had a
I mean.
handheld and.
Yeah,
My new house, I'm right on the crest of the hill. You've gone both ways. There's a little bit of blockage from the spruce trees right there on the side of the road, so it'll take them a little bit heading out of town before they would see
actually,
the
we did have a
vehicle.
deputy sit in our driveway, and we were doing lawn work, and Andy knew the guy, so we were visiting while he was, and so people just thought he was visiting with my boy, he was whipping my, but I think they need to, on the road, they need to be further down. Do we agree with that? I think they're
Anthony
too
Luker
close to
got
the end.
Got
Well,
his log
hidden
landing right by our
driveways.
house.
Yes.
Yep.
It's a perfect spot for
Yeah.
somebody to sit.
He's got a hidden driveway where like
They
right
can
there.
get either way, right there, coming into town and going from
Yeah,
town.
because you're in a valley between two hills, that's,
Is there anything that we can do about that hill right there too? Because it is very dangerous.
As far as like cutting it down?
Yeah.
It's something we can look into. I wouldn't recommend doing it right now. I would wait until the pavement is ready to be, you know, repaved that way. Because there's gonna be some costs associated with that, and they're gonna be pretty major. And judging by all the rocks around, I'd say it's mostly ledge, so
Yeah.
there'd have to be road closure, blasting, that kind of thing, just off the top of my head. But yeah,
Okay.
it probably could be done, it probably should be done, because it is quite an all.
It is.
You know, just the severity is bad enough as it is, but it's only gonna get worse, but you know, they're gonna do a little development right across the road.
Yeah. There's a couple
So
more
there's gonna be a
places
few more
coming out.
houses
Loose years.
with driveways coming in, or I don't know how many driveways, but whatever, so it's gonna be a little more,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's gonna be even more dangerous.
especially on that side of the road, you
Yeah.
know, cause there's really not a lot.
They're more hidden. and we're kinda hidden as well on the other side,
I
so.
don't know why you guys put up with it. I put up this yard.
Sometimes I have to just
Hold your breath and
hold
pray.
my breath and pray. I've
Keep
had to
going.
back up really quick so many times with my kids in the car that I just don't know what else to do.
Best time is night, you can see the lights come.
Yep.
You
That's
know,
the only time you get is at
Or
night.
listen,
Roger, when you stop them, do they get a stiff fine?
Oh yeah, commercial vehicles, but again, being a farmer and stuff,
That shouldn't matter.
That
it shouldn't matter.
You're being unsafe.
Yep.
Doesn't matter if you're a farmer or not.
Yep.
Right.
So yeah, they do
Better
get a
for
stiffer
farmer to
fine.
kill somebody.
And
So
the
if
points
you
are
stop
generally
like
more as well.
4 or 5 of
I
them,
think they've had enough
Yep.
incidents in their farm
know.
to.
just like
That
a
they
big
I'm not
hit.
familiar with.
Slow down.
All right, does it sound like we have a plan?
I hope so.
We'll hit them hard for a little bit and we'll
Hit 'em
start
hard all
asking
the
some
time.
questions and
All the time they can hit
Trying
them
to go to the
hard.
source.
I mean,
yeah, go right to the
Yeah.
source and have a conversation with them and in the meantime we'll look into some other safety measures.
Too bad we couldn't have a conversation with the white Mustang.
that's what I was gonna ask
You
you.
know what to do.
Oh, there's a
If
noise.
you have
You know what we're
certain
talking
plates.
I have no idea who
That's
he
call me
is.
directly.
Can
But
we
I
do
can-
that?
I
You
can
get a
gather
few
the
I get that
cars.
all the time. Matter of fact,
And
I'm
when
right
he
call.
goes
I
by
can
my
bring it right to
house
his house.
on Main Street,
I don't know
he's
where he
doing a
is.
good
Right
60.
up the road, right
So I
here.
figured.
He lives with his grandparents.
He is a maniac. I don't know who he is.
I don't either.
And he's not a child, you know, by any means, not a
Like in his
16.
20s.
Whoever owns the white
Back
Mustang.
that down to.
It's a,
It's
it's a V8,
Yeah.
at least.
You live right up
You're gonna be
He lives with his
So
grandparents.
weeks calls with plate
Call me,
numbers?
Who are his grandparents?
call me directly.
I don't know, they
I'll
live
pass
in that
them
little
on.
blue house right up here.
Right
It
across
used to
from
be
right
where,
Maybe pure, like.
Oh, a new acquisition
I don't know, I got
across from Reynolds and down in Magnet.
Pierre might want one.
Sold not terribly long ago.
Hey, there's a couple new.
no, it's the older looking blue house that was right here. It's, Tyler Hall's parents used to own that house years ago. It literally up here, if you were gonna take a
I'd have
right
to
on
walk down
Church
and look.
Street, it's
Yeah.
literally, I think, third house down
Yeah.
on the right hand side.
If I go past the road, the street
Yes,
that goes to.
That's Church Street,
Yeah.
so then there's the White House, and then there's that like yellow
Yeah.
apartment building, and
Yeah.
then the blue house that's right there.
Now, is there a noise ordinance with those things now, or is it?
Well, the
is that
exhaust.
just St. Albans?
With the
There's-
cars?
Yeah,
There's a state noise ordinance.
We're currently,
that thing is stupid loud.
we have a draft up that we're waiting on adoption.
No, it's adopted.
It is
It's
adopted.
legal.
So now we do have, a vehicular noise ordinance.
Don't get me wrong, I love muscle cars,
Yeah.
but that is just stupid
That's
ridiculous.
beyond.
I mean, Mustang is my favorite car, and I can't
That's
stand that
just,
one.
that's
That
obnoxious.
one's really loud, very loud.
It sends my cat
It
away
pierces
for
your
hours.
ears.
It's funny, there was a
Oh,
black one
he
on
did it right
Water
on Main
Tower
Street.
Road for a while.
He ripped
Yeah, he's
right out of that
moved.
Yeah, he
driveway
moved,
when he
yeah.
He
pulled
moved
out of
into
my
it.
Just
driveway.
looking into that.
This one's got quite an engine.
I was like,
Yeah, it's got
wow.
like-
And it was just
Roger,
so loud.
do you
I
have
bet
an
you're
updated copy of that noise ordinance that we just adopted?
I don't, but I
It's
will.
very recent. in the
It's
last
on
month
our
or two.
website as well, but I'll make sure we email it to you tomorrow.
Yep.
So that would be another tool for deputies to use, just in case it's needed. But, okay.
Could we put cameras in that with a speed limit?
That's what I was wondering.
I got caught in Virginia and I got a ticket like 2-3 weeks later.
Yeah, the state of Vermont does not support those.
They don't.
They don't. But I'll tell you what I'll look into. Technology's changing all the time. They've come out probably 6 months ago with a handheld LiDAR radar that takes a picture. You get a picture of the car, the license plate, the driver.
Well, cameras don't lie.
No, and you know, I'll look into that. They were expensive, the first generation, whatever cameras, but I'll look into that again too
I'll
and see
deal
if we
with
can maybe get one of those and just help us out with it. You know?
Yeah, even if you did it for a
Deputize
week.
all the neighbors on Water Tower.
They pay for that camera.
I'll be a speed enforcement on it, give me one of those. I don't have to go through the training.
I know, I said I'd sign up.
You do it too. She's younger, she'd make it.
Alright, guys.
Okay.
If that's it for tonight, we're gonna keep on moving along.
Thank you,
Yep,
gentlemen.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
We do
Can I
care.
bring something up? Something different?
Yes.
I'm into ATVs, and I was wondering if, we could use, side by side going down through Main Street, just like Richford and Newport.
That has come up and it hasn't really received a lot of support. As with some cars, they tend to be louder than
And
most
they aren't any
vehicles.
slower.
And from the people that I've talked to, myself included, I'd rather have the more village aspect of it and not have loud four-wheelers zipping up and down Main Street. It's just from what I've gathered, that'd be not anything that I would look into right now. The town has it. You can ride out on town roads.
Right, but say if you need fuel or just to cross the, river, just to go to other trails.
As far as right now, we have a no ATV on village highway.
Well, snowmobiles build their own bridges.
Because, you get a restroom in Shorehorn, you're in a harness. I mean, some of them are louder than others, but, if you're going through town, there's a sheriff, state police, it's no different.
Right.
Plus, there's money involved too. People's gonna stop to the store, gas stations, whatever. And other towns are doing it, so.
Right, yeah, I have noticed it as
It's
well.
just something to think about,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we can have that conversation, I guess,
Okay.
at some other time.
Yeah.
But
Alright.
I'd have to see a little bit more support,
Okay.
because right now it's a lot, mostly negative, straight TVs in the village.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you guys.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Rachel.
You bet.
I know.
I saw.
You can just leave the chair right there.
Okay.
That's fine with
Thank
the
you.
camera.
I just
Thank you
wanted
so
to
much.
pick it up.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Nice of you to offer to housekeep.
Yeah, thank you for your.
All right, next agenda item, ARPA funds. So where are we with ARPA funds?
So Abby and I have sat down and discussed and thought through. As the funds, some have come in, we spent just a few dollars of some for some of this equipment and so forth, so, I guess just trying to think through, because it does have to be obligated by the 24th, right?
2024.
2024, and then has to be, spent by the 2026. So we kind of been brainstorming and thinking through some different projects that probably would work with the village. And then kind of maybe partially for rainy day fund with some of the stuff we have coming with the dam. So the first project we were thinking of would be Church Street Sidewalks, which I guess has been in the mix for a little bit. And then we've had West Berkshire water break, seems to be pretty consistent, so there's a stretch, I believe 1,000 feet, Gary said, of water main that we'd be looking to replace there to kind of stop that from happening. We calculated roughly, again, we went off some old estimates that we had from those projects, and then we tacked on a couple extra bucks knowing things are gonna be a lot different now. So that, again, isn't a ballpark, but that came into about 170 between those two projects, which left us roughly about
Close to two.
close to 200,000 left.
180 to 2.
And we're thinking just putting the rest of that right into the electric department fund. We got some good news today, the divers are gonna come sooner than later. They had some cancellations, so they're gonna be here on the 12th.
The week of July 11th to do the trash rack and then the inspections that we need for which we know we have a couple cracks that need to be addressed at some point, so they're gonna be evaluating all of that. So part of that is there's a lot of upcoming projects that I don't have a dollar figure for yet, but that we're going to soon that are gonna need to happen, and the lay department is one where there's not as many grant opportunities or extra funding where, highway we can get a lot, water we can get a lot, and wastewater there's a lot of grant sources out there, but there's not for the light department, so that was kind of mine and John's thought process, considering the situation that we're in right now.
Is it looking like there's gonna be any infrastructure improvement money coming for like water lines specifically?
There is stuff for water lines, sewer, and storm drain right now. There is a lot, which we could go that avenue with West Berkshire. I know the guys they fixed 2 or 3 leaks in the last month that we've had, small leaks that have been ongoing, but it's a pretty old beat up line, and I know that 1,000-foot section, we need to do the final engineering up there and then we're replacing it. So we could go that avenue.
Would it be worth holding off? Waiting for the infrastructure improvement stuff for the 2 sidewalks and putting everything in electric? Because like you said, the electric department's not getting any grant opportunities.
We discussed that, we weren't sure how, but we were kinda headed down that road as well. We were just thinking, you know, if there's a word out there that there's these funds coming, at least we had a project or two, at least the sidewalks where people can see the changes, feel the changes type of thing.
Right.
And these are the ones on the east side that haven't been done yet.
Yes. So that was kind of our thought. Yes, overall, we were thinking that a majority of it going in there, knowing what we have coming down the road, and we you know, we're tearing about part to Kendall, be prepared for that.
Yep.
Hoping everything works there once we get teamed up and then we get it online. So
I feel like the Church Street sidewalk would be a good thing to do with the ARPA funds, just in the public's eye.
Yep.
right, that's what we're.
That was kind of our thought process as well, because there are, all of these funds has been an issue. They've been pushed off for a couple of years now, just because the funding hasn't been right. It's gonna help offset the tax rate, so we're not having to include that, you know, $50,000 in the tax rate. A decision doesn't have to be made tonight either. I wanna throw that out there. We do have a little bit of time, and maybe we wait with the divers coming by the end of July. I'm hoping we'll have a little bit more of a, okay, this is drastic, this needs to be fixed now, or come up with a capital plan. But John and I have been talking about it quite a bit, just to keep the conversation rolling. If you guys have ideas, send us an email, let's talk about them at the meetings, but kind of the expectation of maybe have a monthly little chat, at least one of the meetings, kind of throw some ARPA ideas out there, and then gives us something.
Get a list going and
Yep,
when the time comes.
get a list, and then we can kind of narrow it down, but I'm in agreement with John. We've had this discussion a couple times. I've searched, I'm still searching, there's not funding for electric departments, where there's a ton of grants for, you know, water, sewer, storm drain, all of that. And we have, you know, the weatherization project, we've got the Kendall upgrade, whatever goes down the pipes through our FERC licensing, that, you know, some upgrades that's gonna happen. We have maintenance that needs to happen over there that hasn't happened, and unfortunately, all of that comes with a big dollar tag, and, you know, shutting down for the divers, we're probably gonna be down close to a week with the hydros. We can't be running the hydros while they're diving, so there's lost revenue there.
Yeah.
Is there any update on the Kendall equipment?
So July 18th, John, is that the last
Yeah, so
date?
July 18th, we have, I mean, it's
Still
all
on
soft.
schedule?
Yeah, we're all on schedule for that. They started pulling apart the plates and so forth. So we're gonna hopefully be hopping in.
And you said they started some maintenance out there already and stuff?
We've, just started. Abby stole one of the rainy days to do some inventory, so we'll take a little bit. But,
Had to be done.
yeah, no, but yeah, I mean, we're gonna look at the weather. If there's some more rain, which I'm sure there will be, we'll probably hop in there and pull the rest of it apart. And
They're doing the necessary maintenance before we get up and running, so we don't get up and running and find out that we need to change the oil. We've got it lined up. They actually had to send the oil out to get it tested. Dave's got all that coordinated, so do the maintenance while we're down. So July 18th, when we, in theory, flip the switch, we want everything to be running as efficiently as we can.
get that all in place. So, I mean, as far as the ARPA funds, I'd like to see one of the projects kind of get moving a little bit, but.
What about Maple Park?
Can we wrap that in with the sidewalk in both? It's kind of in the same area.
Right. Do like a small overlay on
Do you
Maple?
remember what the quote was for Maple? I could go grab my binder, but I
I
can't
thought it was
remember.
like 50 or 60.
It
I was
wasn't.
thinking 60.
It was cheap because
60
we're
to
like,
70,
the sidewalk
wasn't it?
was almost the same amount.
Yeah. I think I have it in my budget binder, but yeah, I think
But
you're.
if we just skimmed it at least.
I think
because
that
we're
was
still
the-
talking about.
Don't even grind it, just do what you're
I
doing.
think that was what the quote was. I don't think they were gonna grind it. It was just gonna be
Mhm.
going over the top, if I remember correctly, for Maple Park.
It'll still
Because
be a
they're still
huge
talking
improvement.
about water lines and sewer lines on that street. Right?
That's right.
So the
that's right.
sewer line, they did camera the lines.
They did.
Everything looks pretty good. There's, I think, one spot they need to just kind of clean up a little bit, but they did 2-3 weeks ago. I don't remember. They did camera the lines, and there's no way to check the water lines unless we dig up. But
You
that's
said they're
not-
relatively new, I believe.
Yeah, with talking to Gary, that wasn't an area of concern, but the sewer lines do look good.
But the water line
I'm
isn't,
just picking.
the water line isn't under the street, right? It's under the sidewalk or?
I believe that's correct.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
They came from somewhere else.
I hear through.
How you doing?
I hear through the grapevine a little bit that a certain individual likes to drive the wrong way down Maple Park too.
Nobody we
stop
know.
doing that?
No.
But yeah,
That could smart.
that could be something we could look into too.
I can have Gary pull updated numbers, and let's say the second meeting in July, we'll put it on the agenda again, because I'm not at the next one, and like I said, monthly, we get updates every once in a while. Just maybe the second meeting of the month, let's plan on throwing ARPA on there until we finalize what we wanna do.
I'm sure Heather's got some ideas too.
Yeah, we have time, we haven't even received the second half of the funds yet, sometime this summer is what they're telling us, so.
So maybe before the next ARPA talk, we could get a more firm number on the
Yep,
sidewalk
okay.
and the paving.
Yeah, we can get Gary on getting updated for Maple Park and Church Street.
Cool. Be nice to have a sidewalk in a road with no tax increase.
Right.
Would be very nice.
No
And it
longer
would go a
permanent
long
bill.
way
Yeah.
toward paving some goodwill.
Yeah, for sure. All right, is that it on ARPA? We'll head into manager's report.
You said nice quick news.
I looked at that and I went, whoa.
Love it.
It's so cool. Gotta throw that out there.
So,
Thank you, Roger.
thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Roger.
So the biggest thing is, we'll start with the good news, or both good news, but we'll start with the wastewater. So you folks did approve the electric lawnmower, and 3 wins there. We bought it locally at Ace.
Wonderful.
We got it arrived today. It is electric, and we were well under budget.
Great.
And
So
part of the reason we came out under budget is they're gonna see the bill that's gonna be over
Yes.
your budget. It was like $4,900, but I contacted Vepsa, we were able to get a $1,200 rebate for it, so in the next 6 to 10 weeks, we will get $1,200 back, so keeping us well under budget in that respect, so.
And I'm really glad to see that you bought it locally the way you did.
Yeah.
I don't know if everyone is aware or not, but Rick Green is probably one of the most generous business owners in Enosburg. The amount of stuff that man gives is phenomenal.
That was, I know Brian's game plan from the beginning when he approached me about it was prior to John starting. But we wanted to stay local, you know, we had talked to Zell up there, but then Ace with the electric came up and like, we were able to find a really nice rebate for it through Vepsa, so
That's
it worked
great.
out perfectly. The stars aligned pretty good,
Those guys
and
are
it's really
happy
cool.
with the mower.
they just tried it today.
Well, like,
Yeah.
it's what they wanted.
new, they love it.
They were on board with it from the beginning. I said, obviously get what you need. If it doesn't work out, then it doesn't work out. But Dave mowed with it today. You can't even hear him. Like, you don't even know he's out there. And the batteries, it's really cool. There's like 4 batteries in the back. And he said it worked. It seemed to mow really good. And you can adjust the blade speed. And depending on the speed, will determine like how much battery you use. So you might be able to get a little longer life if you slow the speed down. But I'm sure they'll have fun playing with it over the next month, figuring that out.
That'll be the neatest lawn in town.
Right?
Right?
It already usually is, so I'm curious. They'll be fun out there to watch with that.
So yeah, that's one of the updates. So the other one, Steve with Vespa came up and sat with Abby and I, and we talked rate increases and so forth. So it looks like we're gonna be able to go forward with the 2% for this year coming up because of the shortened version that we're allowed to go with through the PUC. So sounds like we're gonna be going forward with that. Steve is going back and doing a lot of the legwork for us right now.
Good.
So he's putting together some data for us, and some numbers.
Shooting for a September 1st implementation date because we need so long to file it and for everything. We're hoping we can meet August 1st. We're not going to be able to. It may not be a straight 2%. It could be 1.8, 1.9. Yeah, it's the VEC's been the only one to test the water so far with this new shortcut that came out this year, so we'll be the second one. But with so many unknowns and the 2 positions posted, until we fill those, we can't factor those salaries in. So next year, pretty much by March, we're gonna hit the ground running to start for a full rate case, so.
Good. And again, part of what we talked about last meeting, we're working on the capitalization plan, which Steve highly recommended when we go into these rate cases. If we have that capitalization plan, it's gonna be a lot smoother. They're gonna be like, okay, sign off, as opposed to.
With our IRP, we have to do a 20-year plan essentially with them that we work with Wes, and we're up for that pretty soon. So Steve and I are gonna work on the 5-year. He has a whole template. John and I have been on the same page since he started on that we need a capitalization plan and policy for each department. So we'll be able to implement that. So a lot of good stuff. It'll be some legwork this first time around, but it's something we need. So it'll be good.
Good news. Well, thank you, John.
Oh yeah.
That's great.
That's okay. That was a great report. Thanks, John. Short and sweet.
Okay, other business.
I have a couple quick things, because Historical Society update. Had a meeting this morning with Cindy, John, and Jesse Woods was here, and Gary Clow was also present. He's volunteered with the Historical Society. My purpose of this meeting, I'm the one that asked for it, was we have the report from the fire marshal inspection. What's the game plan to go forward? Because there is a deadline attached to that report. Conclusion of the meeting, I pretty much ran through like 3 to 11 on there out of the 14 items are kind of easy, quick things that could be dealt with in my mind in a couple weeks. So got the ball rolling with Cindy, kind of started on that. Again, our involvement is as we own the building, and we're the insurance carriers for the building. So if anything were to happen right now, that falls on us, and that's why my involvement, as I know I've talked to you guys about, kind of got into it. It's kind of grown. I think I've gone down a rabbit hole a little bit with it. It's grown. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be looked at. Like John went over to the building, and there's issues with the eaves. I mean, if you look at the building, everything's kind of buckled. That is one thing. The roof structure did come up, and it looks like a truck has backed into one of the eaves. Railings is one of the things, but there's one side of the porch is looking like it may need to be re-supportive. So I'm not sure once we get a contractor in there if this is going to turn into something bigger.
It's also historical, correct? So the eaves have to be repaired up to historical original sense. You can't put railings on because it's an old depot, because the train used to go up.
That's what we need to find out now. Jeffrey Bryant is the fire marshal, and he was supposed to make sure everything that he recommended stayed with historical, but we do have questions. Right now for Tuesday, we have kind of a walkthrough of the building. I personally have never been in that building, so we can physically go over and see for ourselves what's going on. And then at that point, because I offered to assist Cindy with an RFP, because I'm like, you're gonna have to go out to bid again on the roof. There's a bunch of egress conversation. They're either gonna have to add an egress, or they're gonna have to look into a sprinkler system, but the water's shut off in the wintertime and the pipes freeze. Like it's unfortunate.
They do. There's some sprinkler systems have pressurized air
Yes,
in the lines.
the Opera House has that. That conversation did come up. The only problem too is that there's a big section of where the pipes run that is, there's no heat. So there's a lot of moving parts to this. The lease says the Historical Society is responsible for all of the maintenance, but as owners, it's in my personal opinion, unless you guys tell me otherwise, that we're gonna have to kind of oversee and make sure a lot of this is happening for the insurance side of it, because right now we do have permission that they can minimally allow people in there, but if it gets to the point where it gets to be too much of a hazard, there may be a tough decision coming up. They're open from June to October, just on Saturdays, but I think we're gonna be looking at a lot more work than what was initially, and that I've offered to help a little bit, kind of just make sure we're
Help
rolling.
guide the.
Yeah, I don't plan to get too deeply involved, but kind of overseeing it to make sure the ball's rolling.
Well, we have to, you know.
We're the owners of the
Somebody
end of the
could
day.
drop a match, God forbid.
Where are we with the quitclaim deed for the town?
That's kind of in limbo right now. The town has some reservations about it because of all of what's happening. I think they're concerned that when they come on the deed, then they're just gonna be asked to open their checkbook.
They recommended that.
And, well, now that this report came out, now that the report has, now that the report came out, the brakes have been put on. At this point, I know I've got Jesse on board, Jesse Bugby, connected them, but I had a conversation with Billy Joe today, and I think they're kind of like, wait a minute. I did talk to Cindy today at this meeting, highly encourage some fundraising, show that they're being proactive and trying.
That needs to happen.
I suggested that she contacted the EDA. You know, there's a lot of summer events. Could they maybe set up a table with a display? This is what we're doing. We need volunteers, donations. I don't know what anybody's willing to do, but that was one thing that got thrown out. But definitely suggested some fundraising and a different approach rather than just expecting to go on as a ballot on the ballot. And
Well, they can come to the village, get a park permit, and do every single Tuesday night at the band concerts.
Well, I
Have a
recommended
card
the
table
band.
and
I recommended that as well.
But they need to learn. I'm in the Historical Society. They need to learn to stand up and fundraise.
I kind of
Just don't
tried
get
to make that point today.
Yeah, I
Like,
just
what
don't
have you
know
done?
what
What are your plans? And there's not really a plan. That's kind of why, for me, I'm feeling like we need to be a little bit more involved to kind of guide the train essentially on this one, because there's a lot
The train
that
has to leave.
yeah, that building's in, I think, a lot worse shape than any of us maybe wanted to deal with.
I think
It
it's
hasn't
just been
dealt with.
sitting there for decades and decades. Everybody looked at it and sort of thought, well, it's not falling down, so it must be okay.
I drove by
You know, you
tonight.
can't.
I know Jesse went over and John went over, and I just drove by after work. I kind of looped around the street, and
You know, it's not
It's
heated in
rather
the
rough.
winter. It has a kerosene stove that, you know, kerosene doesn't freeze, so that stays outside. But it just sits there all winter long, and that's never good for a building. And that's been going on for decades and decades.
so but unless you guys want me to step back, I'm okay with taking on a little bit of extra to oversee
I
this
think we
right
need
now.
to pay attention.
We do own the building. I understand they're responsible for the maintenance, but I think we just need to be overseeing that it's, you know, it's happening, it's moving forward, it's, you know, everything's staying kind of organized, and if there's a plan, because we have an August 22nd deadline for the fire marshal.
Is there any way that we can check in the state, see if they want that back? Or can we abandon our lease?
Those are all things we can explore if you would like us to.
To me, they're the ones that are pushing the historical aspect, and if they're making us jump through all these hoops without any money, and they're not gonna give us any money, remember with the grant thing, then it
So,
should be their problem.
Part
It's
of
their
that was, Cindy said that she applied for a grant, but with the historical side of it was that we needed to do asphalt shingles. Well, the grant people, according to Cindy, said they aren't gonna support asphalt shingles because they're not gonna last as long as, you know, standing seam or metal. So now it's the question, which Cindy was unclear, and we need to follow up with a historical preservation. Can we do standing seam? on that, but then there's also the question, if we do that, is the roof gonna support it? So there's a lot of like.
Yeah, because the under roof is not stable either.
I mean, it looks like the eaves, quite honestly, it looks like the eaves are just gonna fall off. Like
And
some are-
apparently if you go, you know, like up under and look at the underpinnings of the roof, I don't know if that would be like under the trusses or whatever, I don't know a lot about roofs, but it's not adequate, never has been.
Right, because they didn't do it back in the day where the wood had to be watertight.
Right.
You could have knots and stuff and you just shingle over it. When
Yeah.
those shingles expire, you shingle over those shingles.
And it used
So
to
right
be
now we're
wood
on this-
shingles to start with.
Right, and we're in this position right now where the state is making them apparently strip that back down to its original wood instead of just reshingling it again. And that's where we're getting our $40,000-$50,000 quote from, is because there's 3 times
So
the
much
extra
work to do, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, if we could look into just what our options are of you know, alternative ownership of that building. Because in my opinion, we don't really need to be in the way. It's a state's building, the historical society leases it. Why are we even in the way?
And have them work it out with the state from that point of whatever needs to happen.
And then talk to them, because they're the ones that are giving them funding anyway.
Yep.
Talk directly with the funding source, they can figure out what specifically they need to have for, you know, building style,
Yep.
material, and we don't need to be.
We have a contact with the state that we can reach out to and start asking these questions about moving forward.
If that's all right.
Sounds like a good idea to me.
The only other quick thing I had, I know I mentioned a while back about the NEPA conference that's going to be in Stowe this year. Registration is now open. It's August 14th through the 17th. John and I have chatted. We would both like to attend the 15th and the 16th. It's going to be just under $1,500 for both of us to attend. We had one person budgeted in this year, but I just want to kind of get the blessing. I think it'd be beneficial for both of us to attend if you guys are good with that. If not, at the very least, then one of us needs to go.
Out of the electric fund?
Yes.
Well, if we can do it, the two of you seem to be working together so well
Yeah.
that I'd like to see that happen.
So I just, because we did generally, our previous administrator used to go, so we've always had one budgeted, but just with the cost of it, I just wanted to, before I register both of us, make sure that's good to go.
It's good with me.
Okay, thank you.
There's specific workshops on specific days or something?
Yep.
Yeah, we're not, and there's like one on one of the days, we're not even gonna bother, it's not really, it's more of a meet and greet.
There's an-
type thing, so.
You gonna skip the cupcakes?
Pretty much. There's, you know, like
I'll make
the
you some.
You
Sunday
wanna pay
night
for us
they
some
have a
cupcakes,
dinner.
we'll go.
And I mean, no offense, but I'm not going down Sunday night for the dinner. Monday and Tuesday they have a bunch of workshops. Tuesday we would be done by, what did we look like, 2:30,
Yeah, Tuesday we
3?
go out.
Because then they have a
rest of
golf
the day.
tournament after.
Or
That'd be scary for
snow
me golf.
tours.
Yeah, so we would basically be going for the educational portion of it,
Well, that's the
And
most
then-
beneficial to all of us.
and then not the dinner. So, okay, thank you.
Alright, is that it for the business? Hello.
Hello.
Does everyone
Welcome to
know
our
this
meeting.
gentleman?
I don't believe we've met.
Raphael?
Yeah,
This- And pronounce your last name properly, please.
Antion.
Antillon. Okay, Raphael Antillon, who is the manager of TD Bank,
Mhm.
and who, okay, oh yes, Leonard will know, who has Miss Keogh's house next to the Catholic cemetery.
Yeah, we took up on that beast. So when you're talking about fixing all that, I'm just, it brings back some fun memories of fixing their home, our home now. I just wanted to come today. I don't know exactly how to say it, but you know, being right there in the bank, you know, you get to see a lot of people, a lot of traffic and everything else, and I just want to make people aware of some foot traffic, you know, that goes on in that section of the town, you know, of individuals of
Oh, I'm listening.
that are not exactly part of the neighborhood and who constantly park their vehicles in and around the Jolly station or Main Street, and then proceed to get out of their vehicles and walk up past the bank.
They would go up past his bank, and then they would go up past my house, and then they would go across the street from me, where every morning, I don't know how many times, young people mostly, when I say young, I'm going to say 18 to 26, just to have a big view, up to one particular apartment, bang, 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 on the door. Nobody comes to the door. Bang, 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 some more, a little bit louder, a little bit stronger. And then finally the door opens up a little bit, and in they go. And 5 minutes later, out they come, and they're gone. And this goes on every day.
Sounds like a good
So
cause.
your neighbor's got a lot of friends.
They have a lot of good
Neighbor
cause.
has a lot of friends, but it's espresso because it's small cups.
So you worried about suspicious activity?
I reported to the police. When it started, I did get in touch with obviously St. Albans, and I have a friend of mine who's a crime detective. I used to be a trooper, and I'll be honest with you, I'm taking pictures of cars, taking pictures of individuals.
Well, and somebody just said that to me this morning. Why aren't you photographing everybody that knocks on the door? And I said, well, perhaps I should start.
We had a lull in the action right now because Jolly's under construction, so.
Right.
But as soon as that as soon as they finish the construction, they'll go right back. And it's very clear what they do. They like I said, they park in Jolly. The ones that are coming from who knows. I mean, and like when I say they're obviously not part of the town, is they come in multiple individuals in the same vehicle, and they all start walking one by one. We have mostly white Caucasian males, but it's always male. And but every now and then we get some African American gentlemen, that obviously once again they're not part of the town. At least the people that I know some of the African American people who work here, and who are citizens, good citizens, and those are not. So it is a concern. Okay, so
The house across the street is really, really busy.
And like I said before, it's I know that from what my friend has told me, it is a known spot, for drugs. So like I said, I just wanted to make sure brought it.
Well, we're glad to know that people are paying attention.
Brought it up.
We all need to pay attention.
Yeah, like I said, I'll continue to take pictures. I'll continue to.
License plates are good too.
Yeah, and that we've been doing it. I'm sorry to say, but apparently one of the individuals that frequented the place was one of the individuals that was involved in a crash in Swanton a few weeks back, and he did pass away. So that was one of those individuals. But once again, just wanted to make sure I made you aware of it. I mean, we want to make our town, a great place to live in and everything. And I know I can see from what you're doing that's exactly what you're doing. So.
Well, thank you for staying vigilant.
Yes, thank you.
I have a question. The sheriff was here earlier, the sheriff of Franklin. Is he responsible for that, or is that not covered by the sheriff in this jurisdiction?
So we have a bit of a muddy situation with law enforcement. So the village is within the town of Enosburg. And so the law enforcement budget comes out of the town. So they set the budget, they set the hours, they set the coverage.
But we get the busy.
Right, we do have influence on that for sure, but if it's not happening during a time that the sheriffs are scheduled to cover the town, then it's a Vermont State Police issue at that point, and their response time is might as well call today for what's going to happen next week. Most
of the time when I've seen them across the street, it's been early evening, and they're in, and there's a quick Narcan shot, and they're gone, and that's all there is to that.
The other person, or the other group that seems to be a pretty good tool in this specific situation is Border Patrol. And I don't know if you have any contacts with them, but they
Few friends
they
as
are
well, so
they do good work with this kind of stuff.
it's a good suggestion. Thank you. I do have some friends. And, BP. So yeah, the problem is, you know, the response time. By the time even if they left when I called or whatever, those people are long gone.
It's gonna be at
Yeah,
least
because they're 18
30
miles
minutes.
away, if, you know, if they're at the barracks, they could be further.
I wouldn't make this a response, this is an investigation. You know, what you wanna do is establish the problem you don't care about.
Well, the problem that you have is that unless they're really dumb or really desperate, they never park in the driveway. They
But
park.
forget the
park-
buyers, I'm talking about the seller. You know, your problem is the store, not the customers.
well,
That's a lot
Yeah.
of the problem that you run into kind of with, these are hard investigations and having worked in law enforcement, you know, unfortunately, it's a nuisance to everybody around, but it's a small fish in a bigger pond, and they want, you know, the head of it
Big
all.
fish.
So it's a very frustrating position to be in as, you know, a citizen having to witness it. I'm hand feeding you, you know, license plates and this and that, but
Right, they're not.
there's more of
you're
a
not catching them
process
doing
behind
anything
the
wrong.
scenes, right?
Walking on the street's not wrong.
Right.
You got-
Walking into somebody's house is wrong.
But
But
keep
selling
making them
is
aware,
wrong.
definitely, keep
Yeah.
making them aware.
We'll continue. I mean, we'll continue doing what I'm doing.
Somebody will make a mistake.
Oh dear.
Welcome back.
Oh,
The alcohol.
There you go.
Your,
But that was all I wanted to say. Yes, I'm sorry.
now, do your cameras for the bank pick at these? Or must
We
have-
don't. We have cameras, but they're mostly
Right, right.
indoors. You know.
You need some exterior cameras. We
Yes.
all, every
Turn
business in town should have exterior cameras.
I have.
Um,
You know, I am going to suggest that. You know, it's
Had it,
I have reported obviously to TD Bank and security. I mean, the guidelines that I've been given is pretty much continue to feed information to the authorities and continue to report it. So I'll continue.
had there not been outside cameras, which at the time were extremely unusual, at a jewelry store on Main Street in Burlington, Vermont, about 12 years ago, we wouldn't have caught a murderer. Because she was walking by the jewelry store with the guy that murdered her, and she turned around and asked to use his cell phone, and he turned to look at her, and they got a perfect face shot of both of them. Of course, it was too late when they found her, but that's how they found him. They do come in rather handy.
See that?
Well, again, thank you very much.
Yes.
Thanks for
Yes,
making
thank
us
you.
aware of this.
And thank you for moving to Enosburg. He also comes to the EBA meetings, we're happy to have him.
I used to live in Berkshire, so you know, I've been in town.
Still pretty cool.
You've
Get into the big city then.
You've been trained.
Yeah.
In the big city, yeah. Okay. Any other business? Hearing none, I will hear a motion to move into executive session for the purpose of discussing negotiations in which premature public knowledge may compromise the position of municipality and for discussion of personnel.
I so
Either the first, Leonard with the second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, nay. Okay,
So just wait, John.
thank you.
Thank you, Miss Gwen.
You wanna-